happened.
Hey, welcome back to episode 5 of Metal and Mash podcast. Holy crap, man. Excited about this one.
This is a good one because this is all about fucking Aaron.
Man, why do I like metal? So we're going to listen to 5 bands today that really just cemented the deal for me. You know, whether I heard them first or in the middle of nowhere. But
Dude, I'm stoked for
these bands are the reason that I love metal. So,
well, we also got the whiskey that you moved away from. What's Blackout Aaron look like versus what's Aaron appreciate?
You know, when you think about when you first start, most people first start drinking, you just grab whatever you can get your hands on.
Sure.
You know? And it wasn't until I discovered Knob Creek 9 that was what really cemented the deal that I really love bourbon. That's the jam. So this is what I compare pretty much everything that I drink now to. It's the comparative item.
Sure.
This bourbon is something that I just fell in love with because I remember when I was in Let the Guilty Hang, we went to some random school to play in, and when I showed up, Derek, the singer of our band, had a bottle of Knob Creek, and he's like, you know, real Southern boy. Hey man, you ever tried a bottle of Knob Creek? I'm like, I don't even know what the hell this is, but yeah, I'll give it a shot, you know.
Right.
And the moment that I drank it, I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is what it's supposed to taste like,
right?
You know, because up until then, you know, we just drank whatever, you know?
Right. It's alcohol turpentine.
Yeah, it's alcohol. You know, let's just drink whatever. But
sure,
when I decided that I wanted to drink something good, this is what I started really focusing on, and then from there branching out. What could I get that compared? And how does it compare to Knob Creek?
Absolutely. And it's always great to have a baseline of something you appreciate.
Yeah, just the classic Knob Creek 9.
Right.
Standard edition, 100 proof.
So the Knob Creek 9 means that it's a 9-year age statement. So in the 90s, Jim Beam wanted to have a little bit higher end of a product. So Knob Creek 9 is their baseline. And to have your baseline as a 9-year, they have a 12-year, they have an 18-year.
Well, even Jim, that's like 4 years.
Right.
I do know that.
Yeah. And so this is double plus. Right. And so what they do is they have 130 percent or 130 proof that is distilled out of the distill. They bottle it, or they put it in the cask at 125, and then they put it in floors 2 through 6 of a 7-floor warehouse. So then that way the evaporation rate is fairly consistent, being in the middle levels, and they let it sit for 9 years. Comes out, they bottle it 100 proof, and there is a tremendous amount of argument on what the mash bill is, because no one knows.
No one knows the mash bill
except for Beam. But I'll tell you what, I have a Knob Creek 12, which I really like. But the Knob Creek 9, I think, is just a staple that everybody should have.
Man.
It's a great drink.
It's the bourbon by which all bourbons are comparative for me. And I've had the Knob Creek 12. We just recently, and I'll tell you how good we thought that was. When we bought the bottle of Knob Creek 12, we were on our way to the Metallica concert. We were somewhere in Indiana, which is maybe 3 hours from St. Louis, where we were, somewhere around in there. And the bottle was gone by the time we got there. And it was me and Beavar and Derek drinking it. So none of us had ever had Knob Creek 12. And then my cousin, he was like, man, you guys should save some of that. I want to try it.
Nope.
Didn't happen because he was driving.
Yeah, good job on the driver for realizing that he's getting left behind.
So good.
Knob Creek 9, for sure. And
So
I'm really excited to hear your tunes, man.
All right, man. So it really I don't want to say that these are the first tunes by these bands that I ever heard, but I just wanted to give solid examples of the bands that made me, okay?
Yeah.
And first off is always going to be my most favorite band of all time. There is no other band that just does it for me quite like Metallica, you know? And this particular song for me is the best. Me and my guys have a debate all the time, like, what's the best Metallica song? And for me, it's always going to be Blackened. I have the lyrics, Blackened is the end, tattooed on me. I've covered this song on my channel. It's one of the most highest viewed songs that I've done. And just really proud of the song. God, it's just so perfect. I'm going to
does.
just crank it up
Do
for
it.
us a little bit.
Dude, make my ears bleed.
That riff, dude, to me, there's no better metal riff than that riff. Oh, dude. Ah!
Yes.
If that doesn't get you going, man. So, I've been privileged to hear Metallica play this song live 3 times out of the 11 or 12 shows that I've seen. And, because they're always rotating their set.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have such a large discography. How do you
I
not?
tell you, every time I hear that creep in, I'm like, yeah, they're going to do it. I remember being a kid and seeing them, the box set that they put out in the early 90s.
The Mexico City live.
Yeah, Mexico City and Seattle. The Seattle live performance in '89.
Okay.
They opened with this song. It just doesn't get any better, dude. Hetfield was God. So I wanted to learn all the parts to the song because I felt like if I could learn all of this,
Right.
So I felt like, I'm not much of a drummer, but if I could play this song, it'd be cool.
Well, and then that way you could play the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great way
I
to...
could totally set that up right now. If I had a set of drums in here, I could play this whole song, no problem. All parts.
Because I'm sure you can play the bass.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got my little bass behind you there. It's that's one of the early Squire. I think it's a Japanese-made Squire.
Okay.
Somewhere around in there. Maybe Korean. No, it's Korean-made. And they only did those in the early 90s. So that's somewhere like a 91, 92 model bass.
Well,
It sounds really good.
That's
Like, it's really
appropriate
cool.
for the song.
Yeah. And it's all stock. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that's cool about that bass. I'm about to change the color on it though. Dude, this riff, dude, so simple. And Lars is so underestimated. Like, he's always underappreciated. Lars sucks, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
You got to think about it. He's almost 70, but he did this.
yeah.
You know?
I like creating equivalents, and he's like, people treat him like the Nickelback of drummers.
Yeah.
I mean,
They do, man.
We're in our show. Guarantee we're gonna talk shit about Nickelback when both of us like them.
Oh, I love
because
them.
people talk shit about him all the time.
Yeah.
And that's how people talk about Lars. And that's like, he can drum. I bet 99.9% of the people who talk shit about Lars' drumming ability
Don't play drums.
Can't even keep a
No.
beat on a snare drum.
They don't play drums because
So-
all the drummers that I hear talk about Lars is how great he is.
Right.
And the innovation. You heard the first feel, it was snares. Now this one,
Yeah.
the genius of Lars, dude. He's amazing. His thought process on this album alone was just, it was uncomparable.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, I could literally go on and on and on about this band and what they mean to me personally. I think that if I had never discovered Metallica, I don't know where. I mean, I could be listening to fucking NSYNC or something, like
Well,
I'm so like
the
dedicated.
universe that's a reality.
Yeah.
Me right now is sad for you in that universe.
Yeah, totally. Who knows, man? I mean, who knows where, and people who listen to the show, like, you think about if you're a fan of music and the first, like, real band that you gravitate to, where would you be without that band? You
Right.
know? Who else would have gotten a grip on it?
Yeah, who would have filled that space for you?
Yeah.
Would it have been a similar band, or would it have been a whole different?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. We never know. And I love to think about that sort of deep dive stuff,
Well, I mean, think about both where you and I came from. You and I both did not come from a high populated area. We didn't
True.
come from a lot of diverse exposure to anything. So the
right.
fact that we both have landed into such an extreme process of music is really fascinating.
Yeah. And I wonder if pretty much every metal music listener has somewhat of the same vibe. Like,
Yeah.
everything out there didn't respond to, like, I didn't respond to that, but this I did.
Absolutely.
And this was so, like, I remember when I first heard this song, I was like, fucking hell, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I want to just go further. I want to go as far as I can into this fucking genre. You know what I mean? Like, now,
So this is a gateway drug, is what you're telling me.
Totally. Like, I mean, it's the marijuana of fucking my metal addiction.
little fast pace for weed, but I get it. God, take your breath away.
The lyrical content, everything, like it just grips me. Like I understand it. I feel it. You know?
Right. So my best friend, Jason, I remember when he played this in class for some reason, in English class, and then he showed the lyrics to our English teacher, and she was enamored by how deep the lyrics were.
Yeah, they are, dude.
And so it was interesting to see how you separate what people fear is too heavy, I don't understand what they're saying, to then you actually process the message.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of metal is super heavy.
When you think about it, they just lost their best friend.
Right.
Holy shit, what a
Dude,
song.
what a great way to
This
kick off
next
your
song
episode.
Is my favorite Slayer song of all time. Fucking Slayer!
Man. I mean, honestly, if you talk about the big four in the thrash world, really, Slayer is the only band that stayed truly thrash the whole way through.
They did. They
Because
didn't
it wasn't
stop.
Metallica. Metallica did a wide girth. I think the joke is Slayer did a great job making 13 albums of the same album.
Oh, sure.
But they're great.
That's what they wanted to do.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that. Like, I love the way some of the other bands kind of veered off into their own different worlds that they go to. I saw this final tour that you're talking about. I saw the final tour twice. So that's why I told my wife, I was like, Slayer's touring for their final time. I have got to be there.
Right.
I'm going to as many shows as I can. Unfortunately, it was only 2. But it was 2 fucking fantastic shows.
Well, but they are coming out with another tour this year. So I love how the
Thank you, Slayer.
final is it's not as definitive as we think.
I'll tell you a little story about, back in the day when me and the guys were listening to Slayer and at age 13, Words of War! Like, awesome, right? The thing about Slayer is like, they were always, like, pushing the boundaries, borderline between, like, thrash metal and death metal. They combined the two really well.
Absolutely.
And you talk about, I've talked to, people who play death metal music, and Slayer is often an influence in the death metal scene, black metal scene.
Right.
Their earlier records were very sort of black metal with the, they had the eyeliner and the big gauntlet wristbands.
Absolutely.
But this record, I was lucky enough to see Slayer tour in 2010 when they were doing the 30th anniversary of the release. So they played Seasons in the Abyss front to back, and it was just amazing, dude. And actually, that was the last time I got to see Jeff, because shortly after that, Gary Holt took over.
Right.
And I'm a huge Gary Holt fan. I think my guitar obsession with ESP Eclipse is attributed to a lot of Gary Holt. Like
a little bit.
Gary Holt and Will Adler from Lamb of God, but
which we will be getting into that.
Yeah, dude. I think I could almost do 2 or 3 episodes on the importance of Lamb of God.
I agree.
Dude, when I started thinking about what is my favorite Slayer song, it was obviously going to be off Seasons in the Abyss. That was the record that I first heard.
Sure.
It was around the time when I was getting into metal, 90, 91. Seasons in the Abyss, the song was the popular radio tune. And
what radio did you have access to? Because it wasn't mine.
Well, we were lucky enough to have X106.3 back in the day, and they played a little bit heavier shit.
Okay.
But no, man, like, that was just the popular songs, Enter Sandman.
Sure.
Seasons in the Abyss. Those were the big ones. Because if it wasn't for these 4 bands that could really push the limit and be able to get people on board, the shit we listen to now would never have a chance to be popular.
No, I agree.
The bands that are all around today owe such a debt of gratitude to the OGs.
Well, yeah.
Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth. They opened all the doors.
I agree.
Listen
fully.
to that, dude. Dude. God, I love Slayer. I think the day that I've got a tattoo appointment set up to get some new work, but I'm gonna have her just throw a fucking Slayer logo on me just for the hell of it.
I mean, I'm honestly surprised you don't have one.
I'm
already.
surprised I don't have one already either. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I've been a Slayer fan for most of my existence.
Right. Yeah, because in '91 you would have been
8 years old. Yeah, dude.
you were destined to be a metalhead.
Yeah, dude. I've been a metal fan for most of my life.
Well, now that I'm in my mid 40s, it's easy for me to say I've been that way most of my life. But
Sure. All right, man.
What do we got?
Moving straight on to Pantera Suicide Note Part 2. Now look, Pantera was such an influence on our lives growing up. Me and my friends, I remember just listening to Far Beyond Driven and all that. But when this came out, that riff, Kings of Groove, dude.
well, so the beginning, 20 seconds of that song is like sheer madness, chaos, and then you move right into the groove.
Listen to that. It's almost like Becoming vibes.
Yeah, very much so.
But then they just straight into that groove rock.
Yeah.
Pantera meant as much to me in 1994 and 1995 as anything. Like that's when I first started really listening to Pantera. Far Beyond Driven came out, and then this record came out in '96, and this is my favorite Pantera record for many reasons. It used to be the popular choice is Far Beyond Driven, 5 Minutes Alone, I'm Broke, and all those
Right.
things. But when I think about what impacted me the most is when we got a hold of this record. And we would listen to metal bands while we slept at night. My buddy Jared, he had this big system. We thought it was big at the time.
Sure.
You know. But he would turn this and Slayer and Morbid Angel, and that's what we would fall asleep to after a long night of drinking when we shouldn't have been drinking. Oh, man. But I remember hearing, the Far Beyond Driven record really spoke to a lot of us. When I thought about what really impacted me the most, I just love this record. It hits so hard. The production on it just reminds me of almost like a Injustice for All production. Very guitar and drum oriented. That riff. And it's so simple.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about that.
Well,
But it carries weight. That's what matters.
Yeah. Well, this is such a contrast to Suicide Note Part 1. Which Suicide Note Part 1 is...
It's basically, it sounds like Led Zeppelin.
It's a ballad, and it's deep.
It's deep. Very
But
deep.
the transition of the smooth, solemn to this is brilliant.
I don't know if I've told you about this, but I do a lot of dives into what makes the bands go.
Right.
There's an unspoken fifth member of Pantera, and his name is Grady.
Well, you said he was the one who
He's
does
the one who controls all that stuff when they play live.
Right.
Like all those whammy bars. He's the one controlling it. And Dime and Grady were like this, If this somehow reaches Grady's ears, thank you for your work, my friend.
Thank you. Absolutely. Brilliant.
I mean, it's just incredible how well he could. He was on Dime's wavelength. I don't know if Grady plays guitar, but that guy he was pivotal to Dime's tone. He would even control his noise gate. So Dime never had, unless it was planned, he never had feedback or anything because Grady controlled everything.
Wow.
They were on a different fucking level of being together.
Well,
So-
as loaded as Dime could be going on the stage, it was probably good he had a homie.
Yeah, dude. He had to have a guy. I mean, Dime would be like, bottle of Crown, bottle of Jaeger, bottle of Cuervo, still going. Yeah. Y'all out there, if y'all know that reference, you an OG, and I'm on your side right here. I know my guy Cody Miller knows that reference. If you see this, Cody.
Got called out, Cody.
All right, so the next
Better
record,
put something in the comments so we know you paid attention.
This is Dawn of the fucking Angry by Morbid Angel.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. That double bass, man.
Pete Sandoval, dude.
Just when we saw them, obviously Pete's gone. But I mean, just Morbid Angel does this really pulls me in.
Yes. So, one cool story that I have about this band is when we were like, there was a bottle of Early Times.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that showed up one time at a party. And me and my guys, we drank this bottle of Early Times. We didn't know what it was. You know,
Right.
we were like 14 years old. And we just knew it was going to get us drunk, you know? Do it for Morbid Angel,
That's
we'd
right.
say. Beavar and Jared, we do it for Morbid Angel. And you know, this record was just so important to all of us. This is another one of those records we listened to while we slept at night.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still do, you know, like it's been my ringtone.
Sure.
It's been my nightly go to sleep song. Like it's Dawn of the Angry is the seminal Morbid Angel song for me, and what really cemented me as a true death metal fan. Now I love Cannibal Corpse just as much. I think that when I'm thinking about what got me into true death metal, it's Morbid Angel.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the first. So Dominate was really what that did a lot for me.
Yeah.
And that album, and then it forced me to look in all directions. You know, because
Yeah.
Covenant came, it was before that, and then and
It's just the drums.
yeah, it just slows down, but it's a perfect. Have you ever listened to their drum check song?
Oh yeah. Well, I remember Pete Sandoval checking drums in 2001 when I saw him
And
the first
so-
time.
And they actually have a recording that on one of their albums.
Oh, boy.
And it's hilarious because the sound tech's like, Pete, can I hear your bass drum? And he goes, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. And then he just,
Yeah, it's the fastest.
and then goes all over the place. And then finally at the end, it's like 3 minutes in, 2 minutes in. It's like, okay, Pete, can I hear your tom?
Yeah. Now look, over Morbid Angel's history, they've had David Vincent and Steve. I like Steve when
Yeah.
he was killing it.
We saw him live, and
Yeah,
it was great.
He came on board with the Formula's Fatal to the Flesh record. But there's just always something about David Vincent that I love. And the last record that David Vincent did with Morbid Angel was the Illuvid Divinum. I don't know, people call it a tech sort of Morbid Angel record.
Right.
That record doesn't get enough love, man. It's a really good album.
Yeah.
However, this thing with Morbid Angel for me, huge fan, always have been since I heard them. And I was talking to Rob Arnold. You remember I tell you I talked to Rob Arnold from
Absolutely.
Chimera sometimes.
Yeah.
This guy, you know, he was talking about how him and some of his friends are creating a Dominate cover. And I got to thinking, like, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the Doth Dave Davidson Where the Slime Live cover, and that is one of the best things I've ever heard.
That was my first song on all of Morbid Angel that just got me hooked. Was Where the
I love that
Slime
riff.
Live. So when we saw them in Columbus last year, I wonder if Trey has some cognitive stuff going on, because he's weird as fuck, but can still play that guitar, even if
Amazing.
it's that $500 eBay green guitar.
Yeah, that he was talking about.
Totally thrilled. Hey, I just want everybody to know.
Just want everybody to know I got this on eBay.
eBay, and we're all like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll play it.
He's a weird guy, man.
Weird.
He has written. He's a legend, dude.
Yeah.
In the death metal world.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a sense of mortality.
Dun, dun. God, the end of that
That is
song,
perfect
dude.
ending. when you see him roll up to the stage and he's fully gray, long ass hair, gray hair, and you're like, oh man, I'm old.
I paused for the last band, and not that they're more special than the others, but I can't tell you how much Megadeth means to my life.
We were listening to it in the car earlier.
To Megadeth earlier because Megadeth means just as much to me as Metallica does, and the constant bickering back and forth of who's better between Megadeth and Metallica just doesn't make any sense to me. I get there are some fans from the 81, 82, 83 era that were,
What, Kill 'Em All, Wrote 'Em All?
Yeah, Kill 'Em All, Wrote 'Em all that stuff. Man, it is true that Dave Mustaine contributed to Metallica records, but if they had not gotten rid of him,
we wouldn't have both bands.
The band Megadeth is such an important part of my life, and I am so thankful. Dave, if by some chance that you hear this, if there's ever anything I could say about metal music, is I'm so grateful that you got kicked out of Metallica, dude.
Right. And, it's interesting because if they, and you mentioned this morning, if those two bands or individuals involved can get over it, then the fucking fans need to build a bridge and get over it and just enjoy the fact that we have now two top tier bands that we get to appreciate and love and have the influence that has been generated from both bands.
Yeah, the influence is you can't I don't know if there's a way to quantify just how much influence these bands and how much reach they have. This particular song for me is my favorite Megadeth song of all time. It's called Ashes in Your Mouth. And the riffing in this song is it's unlike anything I've ever heard. Like all the Metallica stuff and all the bands that I listened to over the years. But these riffs in this song are just, nothing's been done like it since. Like there's a little bumblebee part that comes after this. I mean, it's just insane, dude. And one thing that's cool about this particular Megadeth record, they did it with so little gain. They turned their gain down so.
Right.
Nobody's done anything like that. Just Dave. And you can hear how little gain is in their tone right now. But when they come together and play their parts, God, dude. And his voice.
Is the album that got me really into Megadeth, which then forced me to look at other stuff earlier.
Now his voice gets a lot of shit, but
why?
Because it's different.
Good,
right? It is good. It's incredible. I always thought that, I don't know where his voice technique came from, but I know he's a big AC/DC fan.
Okay, I can see that, for sure.
And I would bet he's a big Geddy Lee fan. I love this word. Shun words of the Bible. We need implements of war.
Very true. I will definitely... We don't want to be political or religious on this channel, but I agree with that.
But I'm going to tell you, that's just the way it is.
So I'm going to take a moment to say thank you to Aaron for a great bourbon choice and your music, man. I love your story. I love your story.
Where do we go from here, man? And should we really care?
Because the end is finally here.
I love this part that comes next. Now we've rewritten history. What a riff. And the one thing we found out, the sweet taste of vindication. And it turns to ashes in your mouth.
So one thing I've been is following through and getting a lot of the ink that I want. For a long time, I have always wanted, and now that I'm saying this for the community to potentially hear, I might not really have to do it. I wanted to do an Eddie versus Vic scene on my lower right leg.
That's cool.
Just because I love a great mascot. And Big,
I have a Vent tattoo. Did you know that?
I did not. Oh, you do? Right there, I've been looking at
Right here,
it.
bro. It's a P-Cells
So,
tattoo.
but I do love me
Love it.
some Iron Maiden.
Yep.
And I thought Eddie and Vic are two of like the most iconic original metal mascots.
They are, yeah, for sure. I've seen both bands live, and they both had their mascots come out on stage, and it's really fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, at the time that I first saw Vic come out on stage, I was like, man, it would be cool to see Eddie and Vic kind of go at it.
There you go. You know what? I might have to pose that to like a subreddit and see if those two got into a battle,
Who would win?
who would win?
This part influenced me a lot, and when I think about, I was never like great at lead guitar. I'm a rhythm guy, so you'll see a lot of my videos focus on rhythm guitar, but I can play lead stuff.
Right.
I just have to. It just has to be something that I want to learn.
Sure.
And honestly, the riff speaks to me more than the lead shreddy shit. But that part right there, I always wanted to have a part like that in a song, and I think me and Beavar, when we've written a couple songs that have some trade-off lead parts here and there, and I think we did a pretty good job. A song called "Betrayal by Fire," and a song called what is it? Where the Sleeping Bones Lie. So there's on each of our records, there's a song where we do dueling solos. It's really fun.
That's cool. Beavar's good people. We need to have him on
He
the
is
show
a good
at some
person,
point.
man. I love that guy.
We can scoot everything forward. He can sit here,
Yeah.
right in the middle.
He's my oldest friend in the book.
Dude, Beavar's good people.
Where do we go from here?
We're gonna go to the bottom of this glass.
Yeah, we
is
are.
where I'm seeing me going from here.
The end is finally near, man.
God have mercy!
The appropriateness of this song lyrically at the end of your story is pretty prophetic. I
Did
like
I
it.
plan it? I don't know.
Ooh. The beauty of
I
running-
didn't. The funny thing is I did not plan this.
Well, you totally could have rode that carpet ride, man, because I would have believed you. Well, then, divine intervention,
exactly.
if you want to, which is actually a great Slayer album, I might say.
Fantastic Slayer record. Nick Menza, underrated.
Way underrated.
Fucking amazing drummer.
Yeah. That first concert I ever went to, Megadeth.
This drink is for Nick.
For Nick. Well, I killed mine. Oh, there's a small bit in there.
Thank you, Megadeth, Slayer,
Great
Pantera,
choices, man.
Metallica, and Morbid Angel.
Great choices.
You guys have been so instrumental in the building of my life and many others as well. So thank you very much.
I mean, really, you had 3 of the 4 top 4 in the thrash category as your main element.
Yeah, and not that I don't like Anthrax by any means. I mean, it's just that I heard them later in life because of all the rest.
Sure. And I think that Anthrax, I think that that's the one band that a lot of people argue could be swapped out.
I mean,
Exodus.
there's so many bands that could
Right.
be in the big 4: Exodus, Testament, Anthrax.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many others.
Which I went through a whole Testament deep dive the other day, which was amazing.
Riffs out the ass.
Dude, Testament's great. Chuck Billy.
Yeah.
I like him.
Guys, it has been a day. We are happy to be with you
Episode
and talk
5.
about some bourbon and talk about some metal and
And Aaron's journey. Dude.
fucking episode 5 in the books. This has been my journey of what got me into metal, and thank you for listening. If you like it, smash that like button,
Subscribe it.
subscribe it, subscribe.
Actually, put a damn comment in. We
Put some
want
comments.
To hear
Let's
some
hear
fucking comments.
what are you into? What got you into metal? If you're
Right.
into metal, what got you there? Send us some links, some stuff that maybe we haven't heard before.
Right.
We'd be glad to check it out.
Because there's an opportunity for us to do another show where it's maybe our subscribers show, where we could just highlight names you and I maybe never even heard of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be totally down for that.
Absolutely. And if there's a bourbon or a whiskey, a rye that you light that you would like to share in our
I love
comments. We will hunt it out, or whether if you want to sell it to us.
Oh,
You could DM us and we could make that happen. We would gladly do that.
absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at Aaron Casey on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram at The Haunted One.
And you can find me on this YouTube channel because I fucking hate social media.
Also, subscribe to my my guitar channel.
Yes,
Check it out.
do.
I'm going to put the link in the description below.
Absolutely, it's got some great videos, spectacular guitarist, and I'm honored to be in this room.
It's cool, man. See you next time.
Peace out.